Whether you are new or a seasoned sim racer, you have so many options when it comes to sim gear. Moza was kind enough to send over the whole R5 bundle for me to do a review and let you guys know what I think about it. Whether it's racing or trucking, let me just tell you that I was quite impressed, so stick around for my thoughts. Like any kid on Christmas morning, we gathered our loot and proceeded to do the unboxing. The process didn't disappoint. High quality materials and very good and safe packaging. All the sensitive materials were covered very well, and they provide enough nuts and bolts to start a whole hardware store. But fear not, you'll get easy instructions on how to assemble everything. The wheelbase itself is mostly metal with a plastic backing. The fit and finish is extremely good, and the weight of it speaks of something that's absolutely able to handle anything you throw at it. First impressions, this is right on par with all the other competition out there. At first glance, the pedals don't disappoint either. They are very heavy, made of what seems to be stamped metal, very thick. You do get a brake and a gas pedal. Moza was kind enough to also send me a clutch pedal, which was pretty easy to assemble. The truth is, I never ended up testing these pedals, and you'll see shortly why. I ran into a small issue that made me decide that the pedals that I currently have are much more superior. But stick around so I can explain to you what exactly happened. The shifter itself was absolutely stunning. I'll be honest with you, my only experience with shifters is the Thrustmaster super cheap entry-level one. So having to deal with something that's full metal body construction that actually has a beautiful click to it when engaged in every gear was just mind-blowing for me. I'll be honest with you, this is the moment where I fell in love with Moza. In addition to the R5 bundle, Moza also sent me a couple other pieces, like this brake performance kit. At a quick glance, we know what this is: a tougher spring, a higher durometer piece of rubber, so it should enhance the feel of the pedal. So there it is, a full R5 bundle, and of course I was excited to get to testing. The good old Moza pedals. As you can see, super high quality. They're actually very heavy to even hold for too long. When you operate them, they feel super responsive and very heavy to the hand, or hopefully perhaps to the foot. They have anti-slip rubber on the bottom and a very clear way to connect all of them together. But here we go with the brake performance kit. And as you can see here, it fits a little loose, and that can't be possibly good when you're racing. So when I first looked at these and saw the brake performance kit and the way it fit, these are obviously not as good as the Fanatec pedals, but they're also not on par, and they shouldn't be compared. So in all fairness, it's not that they're not good pedals, they're just not as good as the ones I had. As one of my friends stated, these are definitely a step up from any entry-level pedals. So let's make that clear. So with that out of the way, I moved straight forward to the shifter. And as I mentioned before, this is exactly what made me fall in love with all of this gear. As a matter of fact, I took the shifter and installed it straight into my sim rig immediately before any of the other gear, and I went live with it. That's right. On one of my live streams, I said, you know what? Let's do this differently. Let's really give it a first impression by installing it, hitting live, and seeing what happens. And man, was I impressed. I got a new shifter from Moza, so my review of their gear is coming up very soon. But tonight I broke protocol. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stream with it, man. I love this shifter. It's so solid, guys. I don't know what kind of shifters you guys use. I was using a Thrustmaster T8S or something, the cheapest one you can get. It was like 50 bucks or something. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It has a definite click to it, which is super impressive. Let's just say that the impromptu test had a very high rate of success, and it convinced me to install all the rest of the gear. But listen to this clicking. So now that we got the ASMR out of the way, the construction of this thing is pretty solid, as I said before. It's all metal, and it gives a lot of options to how you can run it. You can hook it up to your base, or you can actually run it as an independent shifter. So I don't know what else to tell you. The verdict is this is a complete and absolute winner right here. So next up came the base, the thing that we've all been waiting for. So of course I went through all the hardware and tried to figure out which way does everything point, how to install it. Please remember, I have a dedicated sim rig, not a table to mount this to. So I had to devise a very personal way to mount this to my rig in a way that I could undo it if I didn't like it. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but man, did I like it. I liked it so much that I ended up buying the trucking wheel that same night. And not only that, a few days later, I upgraded to an R9. That's right. I literally bought another Moza wheel right after I tested this one. If you're coming from a belt-driven wheel, this will be absolutely adequate and will outperform anything out there. But if you've had an experience with anything over 8 Newton meters of strength, you will find this slightly underpowered. But again, this is a great entry level into sim racing. So continuing our assembly, no wheelbase is complete without the actual steering rim. It took a little bit for me to figure out this new quick release system, but once you understand it, it works really well. The wheel itself is absolutely amazing. I will say, the feel of the buttons is really good, but the sound eerily reminds me of the Thrustmaster T300, almost to a T. The materials are really good. Of course it's called the leather wheel, but we know this is actually vinyl. The hand stitching is really, really good. And secretly, I want to tell you that I smelled this whole wheel, and it smells delicious. The quick release on the back is awesome, and as I said, once you figure out the pattern and how to quickly install it, it will go together really quick. So all in all, very high quality wheel and very good entry level wheel. But as we'll talk about it in a little bit, the size of it is a bit small, and I honestly wish that all of these wheelbases would come with a much larger wheel as a standard. But enough about the fancy B-roll and big words. Let's just get to the testing portion. As soon as I popped this into Assetto Corsa Competizione, I was actually very pleasantly surprised. It felt very similar to my Fanatec setup, but I could instantly feel the difference between my Fanatec's 8 Newton meters versus this at 5 Newton meters. Again, not necessarily something we need to compare because these are two different wheelbases and they offer two different power levels. But as you know, you can easily upgrade to the Moza R9, which I ended up doing shortly after this review. But if you're a longtime follower of this channel or new to it, you know or will quickly find out that I'm really into truck simming. That's really where I spend most of my time and I absolutely love it. So I really put this thing through its paces with this whole trucking mindset. I found the wheelbase very responsive. As we know, in trucking there isn't that much input or output. Everything is pretty smooth, everything's pretty easy, but there's enough telemetry data in the road and some of the off-roading adventures that we take that does transfer very faithfully through the wheel. So from that standpoint, this was absolutely awesome. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, the size of the rim is quite small, especially when you're talking about trucking. I instantly missed some of my larger wooden wheels that I've modded for my Fanatec. So with that in mind, I quickly headed to a 3D program and put a bracket together to convert this ES wheel so it can accept a universal 70mm pattern. Sorry Moza, this is a great steering wheel. It's just not big enough for trucking, man. You would understand. Of course you would. That's why you came out with the trucking wheel, which I later bought that night. Dude, I love this wheel, man. I gotta tell you, I love it, I love it, I love it. What I'm saying is this is vinyl, but it's nice vinyl. I've seen this in the automotive industry over and over. The plastic is super nice. The buttons feel gorgeous. Good job, Moza. Very, very nice. How you doing, guys? How you doing? Hey, sorry, can you hear me? So yeah, guys, if you're looking for tomfoolery, join me on the weekends. We're always convoying live and direct with a bunch of silly friends. But for now, let's get back to this review. As I said, an absolute surprise. Of course I've heard of Moza, of course I was wondering, but I don't think I needed to go and upgrade. I already had pretty good sim racing gear. I'm glad that they reached out and I learned quite a lot. So much so that, as I said, I actually spent my own money afterwards. I did go ahead and buy the Moza R9 to improve the power and feel, and I also bought the trucking wheel. Not to mention, of course, last night I went ahead and pre-ordered the trucking stocks. So what's the actual verdict? Absolutely. I'm a new Moza fanboy, so I've decided to put all my effort and my hard-earned money into this company. Moza did not pay me for this review. They gave me the free gear and they simply asked for a review. They didn't tell me what to say. They made no other requests other than, please give us a review. So in closing, I was sent a wheel that cost $399 as a bundle, a shifter that cost $166, a clutch pedal at $60, and a brake enhancement kit, which didn't enhance very much, at around $30. So all in all, I was sent $683 worth of gear. I would recommend this to anyone, especially as an entry-level wheel. Please remember that for this kind of money, you can still get into belt-driven wheels, which are not even comparable to direct drive wheels. This bundle was so good that within 3 days, I spent another $900 with Moza. As a veteran sim racer and YouTuber, I had to step it up. so you would understand. This company knows exactly what they're doing, and they're offering an intense amount of accessories and innovation. And speaking of innovation, just peruse their website and see how far they're extending themselves. From steering wheels all the way to flight simulation, all of the gear is absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to try more of it. Final verdict, this is an absolute buy. Moza, I don't know what to tell you. You asked for a review, but you got a fanboy. So here I am, fully committed. I've switched over to your gear. I cannot wait to see what you come up with next. It goes without saying, you can send me anything you want anytime. All right, everybody. See you on the weekends, 9 p.m. Eastern.